Start. Welcome to another episode of the Dope Designer Club. This podcast is about creative thinking and many different kinds of creative thinking. And today I have a great pleasure to have as a guest my dear friend, Kira Soltanovich. Kira is an actress. She's a comedian, writer, and an immigrant,
yes,
a mom.
But I have all my paperwork.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So Kira, welcome. It's so cool to have you here, finally.
I'm excited. Like, we're wearing real clothes. We have some lip gloss on. I plucked my
not
chin
wet.
hairs. Our hair is not in a bun. We're usually, am I allowed to tell your audience?
Of
We're
course.
usually half naked. I look like I live outside when I go to our hot yoga class, which is where we met. I look like I am transient, like I've just crawled out of a dumpster.
That's not true.
No,
That's
100%. Was it you or someone else yesterday? It might have been you. I happened to have mascara on, and people were like, "Oh,
It was me.
it was you."
It
You were
was
like,
me.
you
I
were-
haven't seen you in a
You
while.
look like a human. I was like, I just normally look like a hot mess.
And same here.
No.
Same here. I think people are surprised when they see me when I have my hair brushed.
You always kind of look like a supermodel. Like, we even
Oh my
tease you
goodness.
at yoga because you're wearing like some sort of outfit. Like, after yoga, we're just trying to pull our clothes on, and it's just disgusting sweatpants and an old t-shirt. And this one over here has shoulder pads and some sort of combo and like a belt that cinches it all together and like some outfit. And we're like, what's happening? Where? You always look like you either
Thank
came
you.
from a runway or you're going to a
Wow.
runway.
Yeah, we should hang out
Yeah,
more
it's the
often.
cheekbones. I'm so tired
That's
of
why I
it.
like going to, well, it's because, we both have cheekbones.
Yeah, but
because
you
we
have that
both
model look thing
Yeah.
going. I'm really upset that I came here.
Aw. Anyways, I appreciate when other women look cool, and I appreciate when other women dress up and are
Yeah.
glamorous. And on that note, you yourself recently came back from Cannes, or Cannes, as
Cannes.
they say here.
I know. Which one is it? Because I thought it was Cannes.
I thought it was
And then I
Cannes
was
too.
in France and they were like, it's Cannes.
Okay.
I was like, all right, you guys have to figure
Well, anyways,
it out.
I saw you. Tell us what you did there. You looked really glamorous.
It was wild.
Yeah.
So they obviously have the film festival that goes on every year at the end of May. And alongside with it, you know how like there's Sundance, but there's also like Slam Dance, right? So there's all these like fringe little things that happen at the same time to compound on all the people being there and all the stars and celebrities. So they do this influencer award, which maybe you'll get nominated for, right? Now that you're doing your podcast
Of course.
and your your show. But it's basically people from around the world.
Next year we should go together.
We'll do it.
We'll be the glammest.
Oh my gosh, we'll find a hot yoga place first.
Ooh,
'Cause
yes. Sauna.
I did sauna when I was there. And so everyone's there, so they're capitalizing on all these people being in the south of France at the same time. They did an award show for any kind of blogger, any kind of YouTube person. If you have 2 million on TikTok, you know what I mean? Like Instagram, 5 million followers, but you do something specific.
By next year, that'll be
That'll be you. And it's anyone, like entertainment world, fitness, beauty
Cool.
world, you know, all those really high impacted fan sites that people go to. So I was the MC and I basically did like all of the hosting for it.
And your dress was so beautiful.
The dress was amazing. I'll be honest, not something I would have picked out because you just show up
It
and
was
the
very
stylists
like
are there.
celestial.
Right. Yes. Because, you know, you get ushered into like these, you know, here's your makeup person. Here's the stylist that's been assigned to you. So I didn't really have a choice, which is fine. Like I went along with it. And then you're swept up in all of this, like all the award show stuff that happens. So I had to, as a comic, write jokes and prepare. But then 60% of the people don't speak, you know, they might have conversational English, but you don't understand like nuance or, you know, comedy is very specific. So then I had to rewrite all my jokes on the spot. And so I'm sitting there before the award show. I'm in this big, huge gown. My hair's up, makeup, but I'm sitting there like in a corner with my notes, like rewriting all these jokes.
That was me before you came.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally,
I know you did some research. You were like, I know the last 4 of your social. And so, yeah, it was very glamorous and fun and amazing.
Wonderful. I think you posted something like on Instagram, like you were just like kind of walking like down the street and everybody was dressed up and you were looking for something to eat.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, which is dinner time in the south of France. And I was like, I'm going to look ridiculous because I left, because there was an after party after our award show, right? Of course.
And they didn't feed you there or maybe there wasn't an opportunity.
I'm not going to eat. Yeah, I'm not going to eat. I can't do it, right? You're all bound up in that dress. And so I'm walking around, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be ridiculous. Meanwhile, everyone from all the other movies that just got let out, people are in tuxedos and women in gowns and you know, all the other parties and all the other Cannes like festivities. I was like, oh, this is totally normal. It's like prom, basically. Everyone's out. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Everyone's looking for something to eat or somewhere to go or some after party. So it worked out perfectly. But I was wearing like shoes like this under my dress.
Oh, that's smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not for the ceremony, but like
just for the walk.
Afterwards. I was like,
smart.
slap some sneakers on.
Yeah.
So I just wandered the streets with some other people.
Love it. So in reading your bio 30 minutes before you got here, I know you're from San Francisco. Mm-hmm. You say you're an immigrant, and that's, I think, a big part of your kind of persona, you know, on stage and off stage. So how does this being an immigrant like kind of play into all of this stuff?
You know, when we first immigrated to the States, well, first of all, let me start with, I was born in Ukraine.
By the way, like, you don't sound like an immigrant.
Well, if you really looked at my eyebrows up close, they touch. They touch. So I am 100%. Well, because I was 2 years old when we landed in the States. But we immigrated from Ukraine, but at the time, it was the Soviet Union, which I know your engineer is going to have to Google that later. He's very young. He's adorable. Yeah. He is so cute. So it's the USSR, so very different than the Ukraine that we all know about in the news now and all that. And my parents said that, you know, obviously I didn't speak any English, right? So I'm 2 years old and I'm only speaking Russian because Ukrainian was not allowed, because that's what the USSR was all about. Everyone just speaks Russian. Yeah. Only after Perestroika in 91 did all the different countries, you know, if you're from Moldova now, everyone's going to start speaking Moldovan. It's going to be taught in schools, etc. So we get to the States and none of us spoke English. And then my mom said I went to like, whatever, a daycare, nursery school, right? And she said within 2 weeks,
oh my gosh,
fluent English. It's so fast for kids. And then my brother as well, just so fast. Crazy. Like within weeks, I was like, in English.
You know what? I'm realizing how much we have in common right now. Like, I'm getting goosebumps. When I moved to the US, which was like when I was 6, I was like a little older and I was in a school in Queens and I didn't speak any English. Yeah. And there was like a month where I didn't say a word. Like, I didn't want to speak improperly. Right. So I was just silent. And like one day my aunt was picking me up from school and they're like all running and like the kids are like running. She's talking. She's talking. So we have the same kind of like similar experience. Where that's interesting,
where you're listening to this new language, but like when you're 2, you don't even realize you're learning a new language. Right. You're just learning like everything. And so we were all probably kind of lost for a while as well. I'm sure, like your family. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm now translating as a kid for my parents. Because I can speak English at 4, and they still really, I mean, like they went to night school. My parents couldn't afford for both of them to go to night school. So my mom went and my dad learned by watching like Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days and
that's interesting.
And Taxi. And again, you're going to have to Google all of this.
I'm actually going to have to Google some of this too.
I just love to give young people a hard time.
You should.
I know.
You should.
Right? So that's how my dad learned.
Oh, that's so cool.
You
So
know.
you ended up staying in San Francisco.
So first we lived on the East Coast.
Oh, okay.
And then, my parents were like, no more snow. And so we left snow and then went to more snow. And so then I grew up then we moved to San Francisco when I was 4. So that's
cool.
California.
And so you went, then you're also an actress.
Yeah.
And you have a degree from San Diego State. Is that?
So when I went to San Diego State, you wouldn't even call it degree. Like now San Diego State is a prestigious school. When I went, they didn't look at GPA. I'm old. Like they didn't care about, they didn't care about grades, or they were just like, how much can you drink? Like this is the enrollment process. Do you have any STDs? Great, you do. It doesn't matter. Come on in. Like it was not a hard school to get into. Now it's one of the most difficult schools. It's so hard to get in.
Some of my friends' kids are, had that
it's like an impressive school. And I was like, it cost $500 a semester when I was there. Anyways, yes, great school. I majored in theater and writing. And
so how did you get interested in theater and writing? And because you're
I
also
knew,
a writer.
Yes. So you're a parent, any other parents out there, listen to your kids. I knew at 5. I knew at 5 years old. I didn't know what a comedian was, but I knew. And when your parents are immigrants, we did not bring you to this country to tell jokes. You know what I mean? Like they want more for you.
Right.
But then the older I got, and I knew I wanted to be a comic, I told my dad, and he said to me, he goes, well, it's not like you're smart enough to be a doctor. Oh, like he knew already I'm not that bright. And he was right. I mean, he's right. I couldn't be a doctor.
But I think I disagree. I think it's just a different kind of intelligence, which
is
what also this show is about.
Yes.
So I think you also, when I started, the podcast, like people started to ask me, oh, so you're going to like interview other designers or architects. I'm like, no, I actually don't want it to be like architects interviewing architects and talking about architecture and like geeking out. No, I think the whole point of this is that we all have this creative spark. It just manifests in different ways. And so your genius, in fact, is in, making people laugh. And so, that's one of the big themes and I think questions that I have for you because I really admire that. Humor. What role do you think humor plays in our lives?
I mean, look, I'm not saying we're more important than doctors, but I went to a funeral recently, right? And understandably, sad event. It was my friend Ben, who's also a comic that I've known for years. His father passed. So of course, Ben's going to get up and do a really beautiful, wonderful speech. And let me tell you, I've been to many funerals, unfortunately, but I just knew he's going to make it funny. And when there's that tension or when there's that feeling in the room, because there are people that are, obviously upset and obviously just that stress of being at a funeral, even the stress of silence. The silence before, it's not a chatty occasion, right? No one's like, oh my gosh, Steve, I haven't seen you. Oh my gosh, you look so great. No one's doing that. You see someone and you just kind of look and everyone's solemn and everyone's down and everyone's feeling sad. And it doesn't matter how old the person is, it always feels like a massive loss. And of course, for Ben, it's his father. He made that eulogy so hilarious because in those moments of sadness and grief, he was able to break that feeling of just tremendous loss with such uproarious laughter. And that really is a symbol to me of what a comedian's job is. So when comics nowadays start getting canceled because, well, you talked about something that shouldn't be spoken about and you made a comment that's very controversial, that's our job. And everybody at Ben's father's funeral knows Ben, knows the father, knows that it was completely appropriate. Maybe an outside person might be like, you're cracking jokes at your dad's funeral?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need that release. It felt like it's part of the grieving process. I know when now we're going to get into death, but my brother passed away.
I thought it was.
I know this is a comedy podcast, but see, that's how intertwined they are. So my brother passed away, right? My mom and I spent this week of like remembering him and the memories and oh my gosh. And again, too soon, right? And then there was something that triggered that I said, and we fell apart laughing. We were laughing so hard. We couldn't like catch our breath because of like some memory that triggered. And I said something that was maybe people might see as inappropriate, but that's the job of a comic, not just at a funeral, in a political arena,
absolutely.
In life, in a comedy club. And it belongs in a comedy club.
Right.
And I know people get offended because, well, you cracked a joke on Twitter and that triggered me. Okay, so that same joke.
Well, it's also kind of freedom of speech a little bit.
Yes, and we should have a little bit of that leeway. Yes, are there things that people say that are like, wow, that was really hurtful? Absolutely. But you can say that and not be a comic. Like, it's just, that's like a human thing that you did that maybe you shouldn't have done. Whatever, it's case by case. But when people ask me, what's the job of a comic? We really are here to relieve the pressure that we're all under. You know what I mean? It's like the pressure of just the world of life, of bills, kids, job.
But I think to kind of your point about how you connected with your family after something very tragic happened to you, I think it's also about this connection. You know, when we are, you know, we laugh and we're relaxed, you know, we're connecting with each other too. You know, apropos, you know, your point about humor and connection. I love that. That's, I think, so important, especially now. And I think, do live in these unprecedented times, although I'm sure at every stage in history it was like different kinds of pressures. But it seems that now people need it more than ever. 100%.
People always need it. That's number one. So if you go back, I don't know if you watched the show Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Right?
No,
it's a big show. It's about when stand-up.
I just watch Kira Comedy.
You just watch me, and that's all you should do. KiraComedy.com. But, you know, it's about really the start, what was the basic start of stand-up, which stand-up comedy did start in the United States. And, you know, even though a lot of the show is fictionalized, there are some real true characters in comedy, which is like Lenny Bruce was a real comic who was constantly getting in trouble. Their version back then in the 50s, 60s of getting canceled was just getting thrown in jail. So he would get on stage and he would say words that were inappropriate. He'd talk about like sexual innuendo, not even like as dirty as comics are now, just innuendo. And he would get thrown into jail. So that was how they got canceled back then. But the thing is, people didn't know that they needed that until they saw it. Like, we don't know we need something until it happens. Because if you don't know, you don't know. And so that's why stand-up and comedy should not be, and I know this is going to sound like, oh, it's going to upset people.
Censored.
We can't be scrutinized the same way because we're trying to provide you with something that you don't know that you even need.
So
does that make sense?
It makes all the sense.
Okay.
So in terms of like censorship, I think there is like a little bit of, you know, kind of stepping on people's toes and this feeling like, how do you balance like your creative process with like, do you feel that you have maybe boundaries that you just can't like go beyond? Like, how do you manage that? Or how do you know where that is?
I do. So COVID.
Or there's just like no filter.
No, there is a filter. There is. COVID changed me. When I mean like, I don't mean like the actual
of course,
COVID. I mean the whole pandemic and everything about it. So first of all, my whole life just stopped. All my stand-up road gigs were just erased. You know,
Right.
like at a train station when all the trains are canceled and it just goes cancel,
yeah.
cancel,
Yeah,
cancel,
yeah, yeah.
cancel. Like that was my
Yeah.
whole calendar. I was just getting emails, ding, ding, texts, hey, no show, ding, ding, ding. Like everything was just done. Because, you know, clowns
Yeah.
are not essential. I get it. So it gave me a lot of time to kind of think, you know, what do I do now? You know, I became a homeschool teacher. That's what I did. I pulled my kids off of Zoom and I was available. I just became a teacher. I was like, all right, I'm teaching you now. Mommy doesn't know how to multiply fractions, so you're not going to learn that.
Kids.
But I can dissect a good dick joke. I mean, you let me know which one. What do you want to learn? So I was able to kind of step back, right? I was able to kind of reflect a little bit. And then the world started opening up. And then there was all this kind of chaos and people dividing as per like, well, do you wear a mask? Do you don't wear a mask? Do you do this? What's your life mean? You know, are you selfish? Are you stay on your couch and just stay home? Like all these things that I was like watching as a comic. And it kind of changed me a little bit. I realized that we're not just kind of simple one-dimensional people, right? You can believe in this thing and also in something that's different. And so now that like the world has been coming back this last year, I've been trying to test those waters a little bit more.
I love that.
And I'm nervous because I've been doing comedy for so long, for over 20 years. And
how is that possible if you're only 25?
I know.
How is that?
Yeah, I'm like a Benjamin Button situation.
Yeah, I mean, you decided when you were 5, so it does make sense.
I did decide when I was 5, so much longer than 20 years. But it is scary because really all my stand-up before was basically my life and my parents and, you know, being an immigrant and okay, now I'm married. Oh, now I have kids. And so it was always basically based on just what's happening in my life. And now I'm moving into what's happening in the world. But I have to tread very carefully because like I said, the world is very sensitive now. And I have to like even right now, as I'm describing to you,
why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that the world is sensitive? And do you think that this sensitivity is like kind of blocking our creativity? Is like kind of what I'm trying to ask you.
I'll tell you why. I don't know if you know your audience will like it but this is why I think the world is more sensitive.
The podcast is called Dope Designer
Dope
Club,
Designer.
So
cool. I am a little high right now, so that makes sense. I think the world is sensitive because for so many years, many people did not think they had a voice or a seat at the table, which is wrong. Okay, 100%.
Yeah.
So if you're part of a group, let's say, and you can be part of many groups, right? So if you're like, let's say, a trans Black woman, you are part of 3 groups.
Yeah.
Right? That, you know what I mean, may not have ever felt like we have an equal say, an equal seat at the table. Okay? Now, as things fall apart in, you know, what the traditional, let's just picture a boardroom. Okay? A traditional boardroom. It's a white guy in a suit.
With gray hair.
That's
and
right.
a blue collared shirt.
Right.
With a bit of a belly.
Absolutely. How can we F over the you know, the minorities or the little guy or the right? Always like doing, like lining their own pockets and really maybe pretending that they're out for like the, let's say the worker or the small business owner,
right.
But they're not, right? That's what we all envision, right? As like the patriarchy. Okay. Whether it really exists in the world or it doesn't, let's just say it's what we have been fed through movies, television, etc. Right? Finally, that boardroom, those walls of that boardroom, like a fake set, are falling, right? The facade is falling. And so it's easier to infiltrate. And we want minorities in there, okay? We want women in there. We want people that have been ignored, pushed down, okay? We want gays, we want lesbians, we want all of it, right? All the alphabet, right? Immigrants. But what happens is, and this is the part that people are going to be mad at me about, is Everyone wants a seat at the table, which I think people should have.
Yeah.
But what they want is their voice to be the most right. I don't mean right like Republican. I mean
Dominant.
correct, dominant. They want their voice to now crowd out everybody else.
And they too don't want to be challenged.
And they don't want to be challenged. And so instead of taking baby steps, all the walls of this boardroom that we have not been allowed in traditionally fell apart. We all bum rushed. And now everyone's just screaming. I'm more important, but I'm this color skin, but I'm this sexuality, but I'm this gender identity. And everyone's screaming, so you can't hear anybody.
But I think what's also maybe kind of a silver lining is that in this plurality, if you will, of different identities, I think it's refreshing also, to see this incredible diversity.
Absolutely.
Which then, even if they are upset, for, God knows what reason.
Legitimate reasons, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's great to just open it up because I think things were, I totally agree with you, how, the walls and everything, everything is so hush hush, even in my industry. I think a lot of industries have these parallels, it's the man,
right.
The man, in architecture, I talk about it in my solo episode, you have to be an old guy with a belly, and you're taken seriously.
Right.
If you're blonde, woman,
how could you barely know angles? What? How do you know how to hang a door?
How would you ever know, what a door is?
Right. Yeah.
So I think this is happening in many different fields and industries, but I think it's so cool and refreshing that it kind of is falling apart all at once.
100%. But where I tie it in with stand-up is if you get on stage as a comic and you have crafted these jokes, this commentary on life, then the people that are now at the boardroom table banging their fists going, we demand a voice. I get it. But we also, our job is to comment on that. And if you do, now all of a sudden you're not on board. Now you're not on their side. Now you're not an ally.
It's not that funny anymore.
and they're angry because all of the oppression of all the years of not being allowed in comes out like a goiter. It's been building up and building up. And instead of being yay, we are here, they're angry now. And I get the anger, but our job as comics is to put up a mirror and go, dude, chill out. Look how angry you are. And no one wants to see it.
Yeah. So this is a great segue, or was a great segue into the naked spa experience. So Kira and I love the Korean spa, and recently we went about a month ago.
A couple months ago. We need to go again.
We should, yeah. And we were sitting in the naked spa, and I asked Kira, something about, oh my God, that's so cool. You have these cool gigs, and you must get invited to all these cool parties and all these things, and how fun. And somehow the conversation got into what's it like being a woman in this showbiz / entertainment space. So maybe you can.
Is this when I said I would have had a different career?
Kind of something like that.
If I would have done drugs and blowjobs with the right people.
That's the one. That's the one.
Which, I mean, is true. So, and
because
just to
you're
clarify,
also a mom. So I think for you too, you balance this nightlife gig with also, probably like me, taking kids to school and all these things.
Yes. So before I was a mom, I was a regular human. And yes, I would go to parties. I would go. I did a lot of all that Hollywood stuff, where you'd show up and you're like, wait, actually right here in this neighborhood, long time ago, Jamie Foxx used to live right up here. And he had this big, huge party that I tagged along with a friend of mine. And I was like, wait, where are we? We're in Jamie Foxx's house? Holy cow. But that was years ago. That was before even marriage and kids. But yes, I was half joking, but I was actually
not joking.
Pretty much serious. If I did drugs, which I do not, I probably would have a better career.
It's not too late.
It's not. That's the thing. It really isn't.
Although you do drink a lot of coffee.
That is my drug. That is my drug. And it's not too late for blowjobs. Look, speaking of, this is one of the jokes that I wanted to do, but I was scared to do it. I did it once or twice on stage, and I haven't done it since.
This is turning into Call Her Daddy, like rapidly.
It actually worked on stage, so I don't know why I haven't done it anymore, but I feel like I'm going to get some sort of blowback. So, when the Me Too really, really started a few years ago, right? About 4 years ago.
Right.
I mean, it was all over everywhere.
It was about show business, actually.
Absolutely.
Like, that's where kind of the epicenter was.
Absolutely, but it happens in every business.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Your manager at McDonald's could be inappropriate. Like everywhere in the world, it happens. But because it's in Hollywood, a spotlight literally is thrown on it. But I did a bit recently. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
I was going to say also, because it's Hollywood, I think women and beautiful women are not just objectified, but it's, their whole asset of beauty and femininity is like a commodity in a way.
100%.
So that also plays very nicely into this kind of, Me Too issue.
So before I continue, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think you've ever been hired because you're beautiful?
I think I have the opposite kind of.
They're scared of you?
No, I don't think they're scared of me. I don't think people take me seriously. And I think for me as an architect, I had the issue of feeling, just because I look a certain way, they're not going to take me seriously. Like they're not going to think I'm mature enough, smart enough,
right,
professional enough, qualified enough, because I look like this. Even to this day, sometimes I have people, meet me for the first time and they're like, well, now they know just because like the way I kind of talk and carry myself. But like earlier in my career, they would think I'm like someone's assistant, and I'm like actually the project. Yeah, I am actually the project architect or the project manager, and they know. But it's like it's so ingrained in them that it's almost like not their fault. I mean, once they find out who I am, they're really nice about it.
Right. But they would never like pick you out of a room of people.
So I think it's like the other way around for my profession. Have I? People unfairly gotten things because I'm attractive? Probably yes, also. Yeah. But I don't. It hasn't happened recently. I need to like brush up on I don't know.
Well, I think that happens for female comics as well. They'll look at a female comic and they'll assume she can't be that funny because she doesn't look hardened. You know what I mean? She doesn't look like a dude. She's too, like, her hair's, like, perfectly blown out, or she's, like, wearing all this makeup, so she must be kind of dumb and ditzy, and her comedy's probably not that great.
So is beauty the opposite of smart? Is that kind of the way people think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we didn't set all this up.
Well...
Your engineer just fell back laughing. So here's what I wanted to tell you. This is the bit that I wanted to try to do, and it'll perfectly illustrate what I mean by pushing buttons.
But you had a blowjob joke. Is it going to happen, or like it's coming?
Well, okay. So let me explain. So this is the bit I did. I tried it. Cool. People liked it, but I'm still scared to do it because I'm going to piss somebody off. The Me Too thing was strong and powerful and needed to happen.
Right.
Because every woman, myself included, thankfully it's never been anything like aggressive or an assault, but it's happened, right? It's happened where like a hand on the knee, you know what I mean? If you ever want to work this club again, this kind of action, you know what I mean? And that, my bit was...
If you ever want to come back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I knew you would try something like that. And that's a Me Too thing. So the bit was, Me Too, that's a young person's game. I'm old.
You're not that old.
I'm very old. And if someone would have put their hand on my thigh and say, if you give me a blowjob, I'll definitely make your movie. Done. I'll give you a blowjob so fast. Do you understand? Like that Me Too is for young people who are like, my body is my spirit and this is oh my God, I'm temple. I'm not a temple. I'm old as hell. And if you want to give me work and all I have to do is give you a quick hand job, done. That is so easy. Do you understand I have a mortgage? You understand how expensive kids are? Yes. Yes. Me, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to do, I'm in. And you know what? My husband wouldn't even care. If I told my husband, my TV show's getting made, all I had to do was have a threesome with these 2 gross executives. He's high-fiving me. He's like, you bring that check home, mommy.
And that's on enthusiastic consent.
That's exactly what it is. But do you see why I was scared to do that joke? And I did it, and it worked on stage. And even though I got big laughs and it worked, I was still like, I feel like I'm treading on like some, no offense, but some Generation Z is gonna, like be so pissed off because how dare you? My body, after a certain age, your body is not your temple. This is so many bad choices. So many bad choices.
But I don't think it's like offensive. Like, now that we know what the joke is, like it's not as offensive. I think it's just a different perspective. And I think the brilliance of comedians is actually showing us that other perspective.
But you're appreciating it.
The other angle. And in some ways it's a satire, but it's also like we kind of get to see how ridiculous we are as a society.
Yes, but you're appreciating it.
Well, I do.
And there are people out there. That's what, oh my God, that's honestly, if anyone touched me right now, I would be like, yes. Even if it's inappropriate, I'd be like, finally, someone is touching me. I've been married for so long. So you're appreciating where it's coming from, and you know that I'm not trying to disqualify anyone's terrible assault that they've had in their lives, right?
Yes. But
you know there are people out there.
A lot of people have had like horrific experiences.
I've had bad experiences.
Sexual experiences and all kinds of things.
Yes, it's awful. But just like a funeral, if we can't relieve the pressure with laughing at it, we're doomed to just sit in it and just constantly have it eat away at us.
In some ways, it's like therapy. It's therapeutic to let our emotions, whether they're good or bad, come out. I'm reading Gabor Mate's latest book on trauma. So this is like kind of like a part of it is being like vulnerable. Which I'm not a huge fan of, by the way. You can grow. And so like with this, I think it's opening it up. And the whole Me Too movement, I think, opened these topics up for scrutiny, sorry, I didn't mean to you need an umbrella.
No, all of it is welcome.
But it's like we can finally talk about it,
Yeah. All I want to do is make people laugh. But at the same time, after doing comedy for so long, I have to push myself so I'm not bored with myself. And if I don't, if I don't grow and evolve, that's why I say like the pandemic really changed me and it forced me to kind of rethink a lot of things. Even though I'm a progressive, I'm a liberal. I grew up in San Francisco in the 80s, for crying out loud. Do you understand? Like I had paperwork
you're really
to
liberal.
Show I mean, at the height of the AIDS epidemic. But when I talk to Gen Z people, I'm Dick Cheney.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like they're like, but are you an ally? I go, of course.
Oh, well, now there's like this whole level of woke, right?
There's a level.
Do you make jokes?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean by, it doesn't matter that I voted blue my whole life. I'm going to show you my stubs. If you don't jump on board.
You're a gun-loving Republican.
That's exactly right. You got to jump on board with every new, like they move the goalposts.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? And so I do a bit about, well, are you an ally? I go, absolutely. Are you an LGBTQ, like all the, I don't know all the, right?
All that.
I go, yeah, of course. Well, have you fingered a non-binary today?
Well,
Is that part of it?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
now
What
you got
else?
a finger of
Yeah.
non-binary every day of your life because I don't have laundry and dishes and kids. Now I got to go find a non-binary every single day to prove I'm an ally. You told me any language is okay.
Any language is okay. I do want to talk about kind of being vulgar.
Okay.
And this show, I think, is meant to take kind of down some of these. I think I'm a pretty vulgar person also, which doesn't come out because I'm still kind of trying to keep it professional.
Typical architect, am I right?
But like when I talk to my mother, like we both swear, we use curse words just to joke around. Like this is just kind of how we are. My dad doesn't like it. My daughter's dad doesn't like it. But I like it. I think in being vulgar, and I know I've actually watched some of your stuff where you talk about like pubic hair. It's hilarious. Like it's hilarious. But it's
only
like
because I'm lazy.
It just feels like you know, when you're on stage and you're a comedian, this is like a lot more accessible to you, and I think it's like a release. So let's just talk about being vulgar.
So just so you know, in my regular life at home, I don't swear in front of my kids. I don't like it. My husband sometimes says crap, and I go, Michael.
But we have a different language also. So
you guys have a different language, yes. I don't swear with my dad in Russian. I'm actually a very square person.
I'm a super square person.
And
but with my mother,
with your mom. So that's your outlet.
It's like we kind of bond over it.
That's your outlet. And so when I get on stage, I give myself permission to talk about things so it's multifaceted. My job is to entertain. Like these people, 300 people bought tickets, got a babysitter, paid for parking, now have these expensive drinks in front of them. My job is to give you a night out. I mean, and it's not just me, maybe there's 5 other comics, but for these 15, 20 minutes, that's my job. And I'm going to try to entertain you. So I want to, number one, entertain. Maybe number two, I want to maybe make you think a little bit. Maybe I want to push some buttons. Maybe I want to not be bored with myself and try something new. So there's lots going on. And in my normal everyday life, I'm pretty boring. You know, hot yoga is the most racy thing I do. Oh. You know what I mean? Like,
speaking of racy, we both have a very dear friend there, Irina. Yes. So sometimes when we all line up our mats together, it's kind of the Eastern Bloc all over again.
It's a very Slavic
speaking of
area.
racy, Irina is a wonderful lady. She's older than us, but she's like the most dedicated yogi, goes to like at least one class a day. I think sometimes she goes to multiple.
Twice. Yeah, she's 75.
I didn't know her age.
Yeah, she's 75.
But she's the sweetest lady ever, and she wears like the raciest outfits.
But you know, that's the like Soviet in her.
Oh, really? I just think it's cute. And I'm so proud of her. And I learned from that, actually.
Yeah.
All the time.
I've tucked her boobs in a couple times. I'm like, Irочка, come on, let's put these where they belong. But you know, it's so funny because when I'm with her, you know, I think she kind of misses her daughter because her daughter lives in Arizona.
Yeah.
My mom is, you know, she's still alive, but she does not lead a real life. My mom doesn't speak or walk or talk or sometimes doesn't even open her eyes. So it's like she and I have become each other's surrogates. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because she's so similar to my mom, that kind of like feisty, you know what I mean? Always like, you know, complaining about something. And, you know, and then her daughter lives far away. And so we kind of have become that for each other. So it's very sweet.
I love that. I love that about Irina. I think also the thing about Irina is that I like her youth. Like, you know, she might be 75, but she wears those racy outfits. She has everything aloe. Everything is aloe. Everything is super glam, by the way. And I think what it teaches me is to kind of elevate my own game, you know, and I really like that about her.
Yeah. No, she's good. She's a good inspiration.
Yeah.
But we're also all very nervous.
Why are we nervous?
Because sometimes I'll go run out and get her a cold, wet towel.
Oh,
because she's 75.
She did have that one episode where she kind of
she's had a couple because
fainted.
I'm right next to her usually, so I'm like, let me go cool you down a little bit.
Yeah,
It's just concern.
Fine.
She's fine. She's very strong. It's just a little bit of extra concern.
So this is kind of like a technical question. What is your process when you write? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but is there like a secret recipe or a formula or?
I thought you were going to say computers when you said technical. Thank God.
No.
I can barely work a microwave. But my process for writing?
But it's like, I mean, you're a writer too.
Yes.
So like, we talked a little bit about it, but what do you do? Like, you kind of like sit down like somewhere and like think about it, or?
For me, there are comics that do that. There are comics that sit down and they're like, okay, every morning from 9 a.m. to 10, I just, start writing and free thinking.
And do you like change it? Like you mentioned, you change it based on your audience, or do you
sometimes
don't care and you just
no, I have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of comics will be like, too bad, this is who I am and these are the jokes. And I'm like, again, I want to entertain you. So if I know that you're going to want something specific, I'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
If I know that this is a church group, I will keep it squeaky clean. Do you know what I mean? Or I'll do certain family jokes, or I'll do, but if I do like a school fundraiser, I'll do kids stuff.
Yeah. So you have a gig coming up. I hope you can hook me up. It's
Where?
like next Thursday, I thought.
Oh.
Or did you put
In
something?
Brea? That's far away. You don't want to go to Brea.
Where's Brea?
Brea is like far, like Orange County. You don't want to go up there. No, I have local
so like,
stuff.
say for example, like you're preparing for that. Like, what's happening?
So that's a headlining set. So I'm going to do much longer. So I'm going to pull out stuff that maybe I want to work on. You're doing more time. It's more time.
Are you like the main person?
Yes, you're the main comic. So, but like, for example, Friday night, I have 3 spots. Okay. So the first one is my friend's show where I'm just going to play. I'm just going to have fun. And then the second spot is at the Laugh Factory on Sunset. So I want to have some more like zingers, some more like really prepared jokes that I'm.
When are you going to do the Laugh Factory? That's the one I'm going to come
This Friday.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'll get you tickets.
From the Laugh Factory.
What? You're coming. And then I'll go to Burbank and do Flappers. And Flappers is going to be like a different vibe and a different, that's the late show on Friday night. So
how late is it?
The one in Burbank?
The one in the Laugh Factory. It's late.
10 o'clock.
Perfect.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect.
10 o'clock show.
I'll take a nap.
Yeah, see? Take a nap, get some coffee. So I write on stage a lot. If I want to try a new bit.
Do you improvise?
All the time.
Kind of like,
all the time.
hey guys,
all the time.
Like, here I am.
I just did a half-hour comedy special that was all crowd work.
Oh, so like you ask people questions and it's
I just talk, I chit-chat, I connect people.
Do you make fun of people?
I try not to make fun. I don't look at it that way. What I do is I interview you and then I find what's funny about your life.
Oh, cool.
I don't want to like put someone a nice shirt, jackass. Like that doesn't do anything, right? We're not getting anywhere with that. But I like to do callbacks with people. Like someone says, oh, I'm from Dubuque, Iowa or whatever. So I'll bring that back into a joke later. So it's like a puzzle that I get to kind of put together.
So see, this is all this show is about, creative thinking. You're always thinking of ways to kind of make it funny or give it an angle
it's problem solving with punchlines.
Love it. Love it. That's the best kind of problem solving, right?
We're talking about things. Where did you guys meet? Oh, what happened? Oh, you're recently divorced. What happened? Oh, you blah, blah, blah. And it's like I'm interviewing you, but I have a joke for every response you give me. That's all crowd work.
But is it something you just come up with on the spot, or you kind of have?
Well, yeah, because I don't know what you're going to say.
So yeah.
I would never assume a blonde is an architect.
Right.
What a joke. I mean, what do you know about a roof?
What would I know? What are you excited about?
Ooh, this might be one of the best questions. Because it's like asking a kid like what you want for Christmas. I am excited about this new chapter in my comedy career that I'm doing right now. So I have created two things that I'm very proud of that I've been sitting on for years because of fear, because you're busy, because, well, can I do it? Because the industry has told me no in the past, so I'm assuming they're going to say no again. It's all BS. It is all BS. And it's exciting when you can kind of finally, you feel yourself breaking out of this own, a caterpillar creates their own chrysalis. You know what I mean? You created whatever boundaries that's stopping you. You've created it. But what's awesome is you've created it for a reason, because then you get to, yay, blossom, right? You get to escape and you're a beautiful butterfly, and then you die 48 hours later. Anyways, that's not the point.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. No, but I really have created two new things that I'm very excited about. And I feel, I have that Russian gypsy. One of them is a
gypsy.
Yes, I have that Russian gypsy kind of tingling in my gut. Like this is the project. And one of them is a half-hour comedy, which is, I think, very, very funny, and it's based loosely on real events. And then one is a feature film that I finished, and I think is very, very funny, and it's also based loosely on, much like my stand-up, I write my TV and film projects from real people in my life, real occurrences, real things, real relationships, because to me, it just feels more alive, So I'm excited about those projects. I know they're going to do well. I know they're going to be discovered by the right people. One of them already is. So just excited about that.
Super excited.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's
Congratulations.
Fun. Thank you.
I think there's like in that, how you kind of said like, we kind of create our own like limits or boundaries. I very much relate to that.
Yeah.
I think that kind of slows us down, but in some ways it almost like prepares us also to kind of think it through a little better, and a chrysalis, there's a lot of stuff, even though if you smash it, it looks like goo, but actually it's
working on something.
It's a good metaphor, because a chrysalis, even if you smash it, it's just goo, the DNA in it creates such a powerful structure.
Yeah. You have to, that caterpillar literally has to like disintegrate. It's so crazy when you think about it.
But then it rearranges itself.
And it rearranges itself.
Like, isn't that
it's
incredible?
Wild.
It's like a miracle. Well, life is a miracle.
It really is. When you are in any kind of creative business, architecture, fashion design, television, movies, right? If you don't kind of let yourself disintegrate a little bit, which really, truly, I don't want to get all philosophical, but it really means the ego. It really is the ego. The ego is there for a reason, I get it, but you have to also kind of like pour some acid on it and just melt it away sometimes. Because that's when the good stuff can rearrange itself. It's interesting because in comedy, I do see ego work for some people. I do see, and we all see it. We all see like people get ahead, people become successful, and you're like, how did this person get this deal or this movie or this TV show? Like, they're jackasses. Like that person's a complete douche. But that's their journey, and we don't know what's going on inside, and they might hate themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. They might be so...
Well, oftentimes, comedians really suffer too. We didn't talk about that.
I'm not
saying you're suffering, but like a lot of times, you put on a face, but actually inside you're falling apart.
100%. And not only comedians. We look at a wealthy person. Oh my gosh, look at their car, look at their house, look at their Instagram, they're on vacation in Greece, or blah, blah, blah. They have it, it's all made. Look at their body. I love that tan, whatever it is. And inside they are miserable.
Yeah. So I guess we can't
really
judge
we never
people
know
by their appearances.
That's right.
Or shallow.
So just be glad your journey is whatever it is, because it's what's going to help you sustain. And if you're in it for the long haul, you're going to keep going. And that's one thing I tell new comics all the time. They're like, well, I want to be like this person, I want to be like Dave Chappelle, or I want to be like whatever, Chris Rock, or
Kira.
God forbid, Dane Cook, whatever. Everyone loves to give him shit. But, whatever that person's journey is, that is for them to go on and figure out, and it is.
I wasn't looking at your boobs. It's still,
I know
it's
you
still
were.
blue.
Oh,
So
good.
the sound is
Good.
happening.
Good. The sound is being recorded. It's also like fancy in here, by the way.
We are in a garage.
But is it?
It's a fancy garage.
But is it? There's hardwood floors in a garage. It's fancy. I would live in your garage. How about that?
You could. There's
With your Bluetooth.
There's a steam room.
Oh! Shut these cameras off! Shut the whole thing off. We're done. Let's go. What? I can be naked.
Well, now I can really see what you're excited about.
I can be naked and sweating. Cut these mics.
Well, I'm not going to cut the cameras. That's the good content.
This is the good this is very quotable, by the way. I think just to end on a very cool, positive note, and I think you got there before I even asked you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, I like to ask people when they're my guests. I love learning, from my guests, and I've learned a lot today. What sort of like advice or just like last thoughts of just for today?
Yes.
Of inspo you can share.
Yes, sir. Last inspiration. I mean, without sounding too like.
But you'll be a guest
agey.
here again. Let's just make sure that we have that clear. We're doing this again.
Honestly, only if we steam before or after.
In the steam room.
Oh my God, in the steam room. I have a sauna in my backyard, so this is exciting for me. Inspiration. I mean, I don't want to sound too like, Deepak Chopra or whatever. Is that even?
I love it though. I love being, you said like, oh, I don't want to be philosophical. Be philosophical.
Okay. Well, because we're all about, we're the jester, we're the court jester. So
I love
you
that
have
actually
to,
these deep thoughts come from the court.
Yes, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Honestly, you have to tell yourself, you have to speak to yourself the way you would to your best friend. We are so negative with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You have to talk to yourself the way you would to a stranger on the street. Sometimes we speak to strangers on the street or someone we meet in an airport and we're like, you can do it. You don't even know anything about this person. You're telling them you can do it. You're smart. You're creative. You can do it. And we don't even talk to ourselves that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's why when Bridget always makes us, so our yoga teacher is Bridget, when she makes us like say inspiring words to ourselves in the mirror.
Nobody does it.
But we need to, because she's 100% right.
She is. Yeah.
100% right. We need, thoughts are things. Mm-hmm. And we need to speak it and it will appear. And I know that sounds silly to people and they're like, oh, okay, fake it till you make it. No, don't fake it.
That's what we're all about here.
But, don't. But fake sounds like you're
cheating.
You're cheating,
like
that's
you're
right.
being
Or you're being nice. Like, oh, nice outfit. No.
Yeah.
You have to like really.
You have to love yourself, and that's something unfortunately we're not taught. Especially our generation.
Yes,
but you're absolutely right. I love going to yoga. One of the reasons I go every day is like people are they love me there.
Yes.
Why can't we love ourselves? But I totally see what you mean, and you're absolutely right.
So even if you're just starting out, whatever it is, whatever creative thing you're doing. Or even if it's not creative, you're studying to go to law school, whatever it is.
Everything is creative.
Everything is creative because everything, this desk, this cup, everything, these lights started with someone's idea.
Exactly.
It started in their mind first. Everything we touch and see. So you have to give yourself that like grace to know that if you are thinking about starting something, you're in the middle of it, or you're trying to end it, and you can't even, like when I'm trying to finish a script and I'm like, oh my God, these last 3 pages are impossible. Just remember, well, you thought of the first 120. So just wrap it up and just be kind to yourself and just talk to yourself the way you would a little kid that you don't even know that says, one day I want to be an astronaut. Yeah, buddy. Talk to yourself that way.
Love it.
You can be an astronaut.
Love it. Thank you so much.
You so much.
Oh,
All
we
right.
have to do this again.
We're gonna go
my God.
get naked. So tune in next time.
Next time, yeah, for some
I like how
juicy.
I try to end your show. I'm like, and that's all.
That's all.
Because we gotta fire up the
honestly,
steam room.
you have more experience than me for sure. For sure.
I have a whole
I'm
talk
just
show in a
winging it.
sauna.
Yes.
I do.
Yes. No, like we're totally winging this, and that's one of the kind of like my jokes is that all of this is like just kind of whatever.
We'll figure it out. It'll
Like,
come.
Hopefully,
to you.
we did record the sound. Otherwise, we'll have to do it again.
You know, I can just dub over my voice.
The sound didn't record. My grandmother used to tell me, you were talking about like the grass isn't always greener. She goes, the grass might be greener on the other side, but you have no idea what their water bill looks like.
Well, there's
When it
also
costs
that
to
thing. There's
upkeep,
also that
yeah.
thing like the grass is greener when you water it,
Yeah,
type of thing,
Right.
which is also wise.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. This was so fun. Thank you so
I'm
much.
so glad. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, are we off? Are we
I
done?
don't know. Are we
I'm still
check.
recording, but that was fun.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kind of getting
Yay.
the wrap up.
So where do you put it? On YouTube? On a podcast?
YouTube.
Yeah.
It's all on YouTube.
Wonderful.
So we'll
And how
probably-
many have you done?